Hi, I'm Sam Pritchard of People in Paddocks, and welcome back to the 10 box audit framework. This is box 2, risk management. In box 1, we talked about duty of care, and that's your foundation. And now in risk management, this is where a lot of farms fall down, and it's costing a lot of lives. Agriculture continuously holds a record for the highest fatality rates of any industry. Currently, that's sitting at 13.7, while transport is second at 7.4. Then mining and construction are down around 3. 13.7 compared to 7.4 and around 3 is terrible. I just don't understand why our industry fatality rate is so high. It's not that we're a more dangerous industry than they are, probably far from it. It's that they understand their risks and they manage them, and we need to get better. The lack of risk management in our industry is also really costly. If you get a work cover fine, it can cost anywhere between $10,000 and over $400,000. This isn't just a safety problem, it's a business problem. The gap between agriculture and mining and construction comes down to risk management, and if we can get that right, imagine the increase in our productivities and efficiencies. So why is ag so far behind? In construction, the team fills out a safe work method statement before every task, whereas most farms probably haven't even filled out one risk assessment, let alone one for every risky task. Why is that? Is it lack of resources? Is it lack of know-how? Also lack of time? But we really need to get better on this. When I was at the corporate farm, I learned a really good way to get the team start thinking about risks. At our toolbox meetings, our CEO every single week would go around the entire team and ask for a hazard. It was really tough because there's a lot of people in the team, and someone would always take the one that you were going to say just before you. So some people would say things like, I don't know, his shoelaces are untied. But that wasn't the point. The point was we were all thinking safety. She changed our mindset. We were all thinking about hazards with every task we were doing because we knew she was going to ask us for one. And that's something that you can do in your team. I also had to report on risk to the board quarterly, and I had to personally present those risks. Because at the end of the day, if something went pear-shaped, it was the board that was going to jail. So they wanted to make sure that we were on top of everything. That's something that you could also incorporate into your team. So getting them to think about risks by asking them to name a hazard at every toolbox meeting, but also to report to you more regularly on risks and management. Really get them involved in this process. And as we go through this video, I'll step you through ways that we can do that. What is a hazard and a risk? A hazard is anything with the potential to cause harm, whilst a risk is the likelihood of that thing causing harm and how severe that harm could be. A couple of examples could be if there was a bit of curled up wire in the paddock, then that could cause machinery damage. So best to get out, get rid of that curled up wire and resume operating. Whereas a low-lying overhead power line is a hazard, and the likelihood of that causing injury is quite high, and the severeness of that could be death. So it's best to stop work and not proceed until that overhead power line is dealt with. Farm hazards are everywhere and they come up every day. There are probably so many that you probably stop seeing them. So it's time to open our eyes and actually notice them. Sadly, a piece of flapping tin on a shed roof came off and killed a farmer in high winds whilst he was moving cattle. A bale wrapper suffocated a farmer. A bulker bag was stacked up on top of another and fell and crushed a worker to death. The majority of ag deaths are side-by-sides and quad bikes, and yet still so many farmers don't have the rollover protection. There are grants currently available to get ROPs installed, so have a look for those. Most of these hazards could have been avoided, and so that's what we're talking about today, is risk identification and risk management. When I visit a farm to conduct an audit, I wear two different hats. The first one is my auditor hat, so I'm looking at if there's anything that could potentially harm physically or mentally a worker or a visitor. And the second one is my mum hat, to see what kids could potentially crawl into, climb onto, climb over, touch, fall into. By putting several hats on when you walk through your farm and not just your eyes that have seen it a million times, you can potentially pick up the majority of your hazards on your farm just in one walk. We discussed this walk in more detail in the video 1, box 1, duty of care, where we walk from the front gate and look at everything from signage to structures, to machinery, to paddocks, to sheds, etc. And then we looked at the psychosocial risks as well. So if you didn't get to see that video, make sure that you check that out, because it's really important that we cover everything in that walk and identify all of the hazards. In this video, we're going to go through how to deal with those hazards. So grab that piece of paper that you jotted everything down on, and now we're going to go through those step by step. The safety authorities refer to 4 steps when managing risks. Step 1, identify the hazard. What could cause harm? And you've already done this in your walkthrough. Step 2, assess the risk and how likely it is and how severe it could be. Use the risk matrix. In the risk matrix, we look at the likelihood of a hazard becoming a risk and how severe that could be. So starting in the green section, where we look at that curled up bit of wire in the paddock that could potentially damage the machine, we'd identify as green. We need to stop, we need to pick up that wire and remove it totally, and then we can continue with our work. Whereas something like that overhead power line is going to sit in our red section. It's a highly likely chance that if we go under that, we're going to hit it, which means we're going to cause an electric barrier around us, which could potentially cause death. So that's in our red section. We need to stop and not do anything until that risk is totally eliminated. Step 3, apply controls, work as high up the hierarchy as possible, which we did with our overhead power line. We stopped work altogether and we're going to give the electrical authorities a call to come out. And step 4, review. Implementing a control is not the end of the process. We need to continually monitor for new hazards and for changed control measures if they're no longer working. So before we get into the practicality of it and actually going through your hazards and identifying them, which you've done, and now going through the process, let's just take a look at the hierarchy of controls. It's something I'm sure you've seen before, but let's just take a revisit of it now so that it's fresh in our mind as we start our risk assessments. In the hierarchy of controls, we want to work up as high in the hierarchy as possible. Controls can and should be combined. So let's start at the top with elimination. If we can, we need to remove the hazard entirely. It's the best option. Always try this part first. Substitution, we want to try and replace it with something safer. We want to switch a dangerous chemical, for instance, for a less harmful one. Isolation, we want to separate the hazard from people, such as exclusion zones during hay stacking. With engineering controls, these are physical changes, so guards on a PTO shaft is a good example. So then we move down to administrative controls. As I mentioned earlier, if we can combine some of these controls, we should. And administrative controls is one that we tend to combine with a lot of these other layers. So these are our procedures, our training, our supervision, our competency checks. Then we go down to the last resort, which is PPE. But again, this can be combined with isolation or with engineering or with administration or with substitution. Okay, so let's talk about a risk assessment and break that down in terms of what it is and provide you with a template to easily add your hazards in and start filling out a risk assessment. I recently had a really good example of this where a farm had a haystack and in the middle there were a few dodgy hay bales that were going to cause an injury to potentially to anybody who tried to move those hay bales in the future. So the manager grabbed 2 team members and together they grabbed the template for a risk assessment and worked it out together. This is where I give a shout out to our dyslexic thinkers. If you are lucky enough to have a dyslexic thinker in your team, then grab them for these risk assessments. you will be amazed at their ability to problem solve. Time and time again, I've watched dyslexic thinkers absolutely shine in situations like this. Whilst many get bogged down in the detail of whatnot, our dyslexic thinkers see things differently. They come up with bigger solutions and better problem solving skills. So here's a copy of our risk assessment form, and it's pretty straightforward. You're going to grab one of the hazards that you've written down on your piece of paper, and we're going to start with that. So pick one and write it down. Where is the hazard actually located? And the people that are going to be completing this form with you. You don't have to do that now. You can get this process started, but make sure that you have some people in mind that are going to help you through it. So how was the hazard identified? In this case, it'll be a site inspection and the types of hazard categories. So where does it fall into? If we flick through to page 3, you'll see there's a bit of a cheat guide there. And these are the different common hazards by category. And so that will help you as well in terms of identifying some hazards on your property. And it's by no means an exhaustive list, but it's a really good start. In box 1, duty of care, we talked about the psychosocial hazards and how to identify those and what constitutes a psychosocial hazard. Now we're going to look at completing a risk assessment on them. So 1 is on fatigue management, and they're really easy. You just need to follow through the steps, but most importantly, involve the team, because sometimes it's not you that's being affected by the fatigue. It can also be your team. And then have a look at the full psychosocial risk assessment as well. Again, sit down with your team. This can be a hard conversation. Maybe there is a little bit of moodiness getting in the way. I'm just asking. Or there could be some anger that comes out during harvest or sowing or peak periods or shearing. So it's really important to identify these and to pull up our socks and sit down with the team and actually listen to the feedback that they have. I would say that potentially we all know it already in terms of what these areas could be, but now legally we need to address them. So let's sit down with the team, address the white elephant in the room, and let's talk about what could potentially be upsetting our team and find out ways that we can mitigate those. Most farms have hazards that they know about. They just either haven't known how to deal with them or haven't found the time. Well, now you know how, and you've even got the templates to do it. So now you just need to find some time. And again, involve the family. Don't put all the pressure on yourself. This is a team exercise and really important that everybody is involved. I got so frustrated, particularly with workers not reporting on hazards that they see all day, every day around the farm. So I built an app. It's simple, it's dyslexic friendly, it's multilingual, it is aligned with international workplace health and safety standards. It is National Farmers Federation data accredited so that everybody's data is kept safe. And it's getting a 98% adoption rate by workers. There's a free version. There's also a free trial of the premium parts, but there's a free version that you can have forever with unlimited users. So now there's really no excuse. Please go get your system in place. Start managing your risks, and we as an industry will have a safer place to work. Risk management is the most important thing your farm business can do, financially, operationally, and safety-wise. It can save you a lot of money, a lot of headache, and increase your productivity. So why not start today, right now? Let's get started. Write 3 things down. Write 3 hazards down if you haven't already. Start with, what is the riskiest piece of equipment or machinery on your farm? Is it a tractor without a cab? Is it a quad bike without ROPS? Is it a spring onion cutter? What is the riskiest piece of machinery or equipment that you have on your farm? Jot that down. Secondly, write down, what's the riskiest job or task that anybody does? Is it climbing up silos? Is it in the cutting room? Is it using chemicals? Write down the riskiest task or job that anyone does. And then write down, what's the mentally most taxing aspect of anybody's role, either for you or working for you. And if you have a team, you need to look at working for you as well as for yourself. Is that fatigue with long hours? Is it the stress of equipment breaking down regularly? Is it moods amongst the team? I don't know, I'm just asking again. So write down, what is the most mentally taxing part? So you've got now 3 hazards that you can start with. If you didn't already, take a walk around your paddock. You can start with those 3 and then make sure you take a walk around your farm from the front gate and write them all down. So let's bandy together as a community and get this rate down. Mining and construction have done it, so we can too. So there's a link in the comments to download your free templates for risk assessments, or you can email me directly and I will personally send them to you. You can also take a free audit quiz on our website, which is also here, to see where your farm currently sits. And you can also download Pippa today and get on to either the free trial or the free version of the app and start getting hazards identified. As always, have fun, but stay safe.